Welcome to Sideline Picks. My name is Chris, and I'm here with my co-host Gary. Thank you for joining us for episode 5. Let's jump right in to recap week 2. All right, Gary, so we got through week 2, which in my opinion is probably better than week 1. I know
I was gonna say, it's right up there with how crazy last week was as well. It was just
well, not
a
only
crazy
did
week.
I think last week we had a lot of upsets. This week, not only did we have upsets, we also had 20-point comebacks in multiple games. So I think what that teaches us is just don't count any team out. So
Right.
what I want to start it off with is what is up with Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore? Because
Dude,
they
hate
each other, and I don't understand why.
It's crazy because as you guys know, I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. I'm not a bandwagon fan. I was there before Brady, but I have seen year over year. I think Mike Evans, this is his either 6th or 7th year, and man, he just does not like New Orleans. We had talked about that on the last episode, that they never do well when they go there, they never win when they go there, whatever. But man, last time they were there when Jameis Winston was still on the team, Mike Evans punched him out too and got in trouble. But the league dropped a 1-game suspension on him, so
And not Marshawn Lattimore.
I don't understand why did Marshawn Lattimore not get suspended?
He was
as well?
the victim.
No, he was not. He came up to Brady and started causing problems, and then he punched Leonard Fournette right in the face. Dude, he punched Leonard Fournette right in the face.
Dude, I think I was actually asleep. I fell asleep during this part of the game, and I wake up to you and B-Man texting me that there was this massive fight in the Bucs game, and I look up, and once again, Mike Evans is pushing people in the back.
Dude, Mike Evans slammed him, dude.
Marshawn Lattimore
he did the same thing to him that he did to him the last game when Jameis Winston started pushing on the back of his helmet. He ran over there and knocked him over. I don't know. I agree with the suspension, but I don't understand why they didn't suspend Marshawn Lattimore.
So I think you look at it with, and this has nothing to do with them getting suspended, but there's not as many I guess league-wide hatreds. You know what I'm saying? Like, we used to have a lot of people. I mean, it was like I keep to lead with everybody. So, you know what
Michael Crabtree, keep to lead.
Yeah.
Richard Sherman, Michael Crabtree.
Richard Sherman with anybody. Like, used to have a lot of those, and we're not seeing as many anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe we're seeing it, before the game, but everybody talks.
Josh Norman, remember that?
I mean, dude, I remember when Dez Bryant fought Josh Norman. There was a whole play going on the side of on the other side of the field, and they're just fighting. So, yeah. But you don't see that a lot anymore with a lot of these players. They talk a big game before the game, and then they're kind of cool afterwards. So, but not these two guys. I mean, they're just every time they play each other.
Well,
just expect
if we
to
can
fight.
be honest too, Marshawn Lattimore clamps up Mike Evans.
Yeah,
every time he plays him. So if I was Mike Evans, I'd probably want to fight him too, to be honest.
He said, "Just let me see him turn around one more time. I'm gonna push him again."
It's like when AJ Green picked up Jalen Ramsey and threw him on the ground. He was tired of it. So you're gonna stop talking to me like that.
But I mean, in my opinion, that was one of the best. Besides the Cowboys winning, that was one of the best highlights of the weekend. So let's talk about our records. Honestly, for 2 weeks into the NFL, I don't think we have that bad of record. So after Monday night's game and all of week 2, I have a 15-17 record, and Gary has a 19-13 record.
Woo woo!
That's pretty impressive.
Dude,
so
I'm a Super Bowl contending team right now.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but also a lot of people have gotten their picks wrong. We look at ESPN and we look at First Take and watch all these people. There have been a lot of upsets. There's also been a lot of close games. The only game.
The picks.
Go ahead.
The picks that we've been picking, the stuff that we've been wrong on has been stuff that shocked the industry.
Raiders and Cardinals.
The Colts, where are the Colts? The Rams week 1, some of our losses have been besides you picking the Seahawks, have been
right.
pretty unexpected.
No, bro,
Just had to
chill
throw
out.
a shot in there.
Listen,
Sorry.
listen. If Jimmy Garoppolo, if I knew he was playing, I would have picked 49ers all the way. But we can
Whatever.
move on from that. So, again, we're going to do this every week. We're going to keep up with our own record. We're going to see how we do. Not only we're going to look how we do based on each other. Obviously, we all watch sports. We watch Thursday night football, Sunday football, Monday football, and they always show what their picks are, what their records on their picks are. So we're gonna I guess compare ourselves to them as well and see how we do at the end of the season. So in today's episode, we're gonna do it a little bit different, where instead of just going game by game and giving our thoughts, we have a couple questions for each other, and we're gonna kind of do it that way, and that gives each person a little more time to talk, and then we can also kind of delve into a specific big game, a specific big, event that happened this weekend, instead of trying to cover all of them, and then we're not given as much time for what we think people want to hear. So, Gary, why don't you start with your first one?
Right. So I want to start it off a little bit kind of with what I think is maybe one of the game of the weeks. And just give me kind of your overview and your recap of the Dolphins-Ravens game and
Man.
What you took from that, what you saw during the game, just how you felt overall about it.
Well, if most of you remember, I actually picked the Ravens to win, which I think, at least through most of the game, was a pretty good pick. Here's what I saw. I saw Lamar Jackson acting like his MVP self. Lamar Jackson went out there, and I remember at the beginning of the season, before, I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday of week 1, so we hadn't got to an NFL game yet. I remember Lamar Jackson's contract deadline had come up. He was saying, if I don't get a contract by this point, then I'm just going to bet on myself. And I feel like it's worked through the first 2 weeks of the NFL. He threw 5 touchdown passes on Sunday, or he had 5 touchdowns. One of them was a rushing touchdown. I think that, oh, sorry, my bad. He only had 4 touchdowns. 3 of them were receiving, but he had 119 yards on the ground and a touchdown. One of them was a 79-yard touchdown. So I think Lamar Jackson betting on himself obviously has paid off. But here's the question. Their defense was horrendous. I don't think Lamar Jackson ever took the foot off the pedal. You know what I'm saying? I think he was
Right.
going the full game, clearly looking at his stats 21 for 29, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then 9 carries for 119 yards. Yeah. So, but then you look at the defense and you what happened? And I'm not trying to take anything away from Miami, because obviously when you have 2 players over 150 receiving yards, your quarterback turned up for 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. That's pretty impressive, but where was the Ravens defense? That's my question. I think that's the biggest concern for the Ravens, is what happened to their defense. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think obviously if you guys listen to the fantasy episode, I actually heavily bet, so to say, on the fact that Lamar was not going to do good this game.
Yeah, Lamar heard him. He listened to this podcast and he said
he did hear me, and I have a newfound respect for the way that he performed this year. I think he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks after that performance. If he can maintain his health, that's my big thing that you see with a lot of these running quarterbacks,
But to go along with that, I think his running style is different from Josh Allen's. His running style he's shifty. You know what I'm saying? Josh Allen, he's just a big dude. And so
Right.
what we said in episode 3 was, is Josh Allen going to hurt himself by continuing to run like this? Well, I don't think Lamar Jackson is, because he's not taking these ginormous hits. He's fast enough, and he's able to get out of bounds quick enough just to avoid these big hits. And I think that's what separates him from the rest of these quarterbacks that are kind of dual threat.
Right. And I think so. What do you feel about, number one, I guess, the future? Because a lot of people put the Dolphins in general in question when they traded their whole future pretty much for Tyreek. They said, Tua can't throw him the ball. They're not going to be able to, work cohesively? Like, there was a lot of questions for the amount of stuff they gave up from Tyreek. Do you
Yeah.
think that's still a valid question?
Well, obviously, with it being week 2, I think it's kind of early to have that question answered. You know what I'm saying? But clearly, I mean, for one, we know it's Tyreek Hill, a very good football player, a very good receiver. I mean, the fastest in the league. But
Yeah.
I think the question wasn't on Tyreek Hill; it was on Tua. Was Tua going to be able to get him the ball? You know, and there were a lot of people that talked about, can Tua even throw that far? I think we saw in some of the OTAs and mini camps that there were some times that Tua was underthrowing Tyreek Hill. Now
Well,
maybe,
even the first game of the season, he had a throw where Tyreek was wide open, and it was
yeah,
just like
but
a little piddly little throw.
I think too, Patrick Mahomes had a couple years with Tyreek Hill. I think Tua will get to that point, and again, he's an NFL quarterback. He's going to adjust. I think he's going to be a successful NFL quarterback, but he's definitely going to adjust. And I think that question still is yet to be answered, not because of Tyreek
Right.
Hill, but because of Tua. I think Tyreek Hill is worth it for what they gave up for any team, but it all goes back to, can your quarterback get that person the ball?
I think the other thing too that a lot of people forget about in general is just Jalen Waddle.
Yeah,
I mean, him being a second receiver now, but having that 1-2 punch. I mean, it reminds me a lot of, a couple different 1-2 punch receiver sets we've seen in the past. Whether it's even back in the day when it was Julio Jones and what was his name, Roddy White.
oh yeah,
I think was his name.
I mean,
Yes, and then them and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and then you had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb,
Yeah.
and then a couple other Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. Like, you see teams that have those, and obviously the Vikings didn't do very well last night, but overall, like, conceptually, having that 1-2 punch is super valuable for a team.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and Tyreek, and what we talked about with the Chargers and Chiefs game is Tyreek Hill is like not just a 1-2 punch, but he's like irreplaceable. The
He's
Chiefs
the whole-
are not going to be able
yeah,
to replace him
absolutely.
at all.
No, and I think what the Chiefs have done good is that they're not trying to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think you can't. When you get a player that leaves like that, you can't just replace him because he is that good of a player. And so I think I agree with what you're saying, the fact that there is that 1-2 punch, because when people try to cover Tyreek Hill, you've still got Jalen Waddle, who went for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. So clearly,
Mike Gesicki too. He finally showed up.
yeah, I mean, he had 41 yards and a touchdown, for 4 targets. But Jalen Waddle had 19 targets and Tyreek Hill had 13. So you're still seeing that, Tua prefers Jalen Waddle just a little bit. Obviously, he targeted him more times, but he's played with him more. And so the more and more I think Tua plays with Tyreek, I think that question of, is it worth it, is going to be answered. So honestly, I would say like week 5, week 6, where they're sitting in the division, because right now their divisional leader with the Bills is, they're not an easy team to beat. So I actually is it
Right.
Bills Dolphins this weekend, right? I'm almost positive.
I'd have to verify. Yeah, I think it is,
Almost
actually.
positive. So I think honestly that question might be answered this weekend, because this is your first time playing who most people would say is a Super Bowl contender.
So number one
Yeah,
defense in the
yeah.
league, probably
The
number
number one
to three.
team, the number one team in the league. So, okay, well, I think we'll see in a couple weeks really what this Dolphins team is going to be. Is this Dolphins team just we're going to give you the first 4 weeks of the season, or can they last the whole season? So, and again, I think the main thing is the concern for the Ravens defense, because when they play, they still have to play, the Bengals twice. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the Ravens have to get this figured out if they want a chance to get out of that division on top, or even a wild card spot. So I've actually got a question for you now. And this is obviously my pick from last week, but the Seahawks/49ers game. Not just the game itself and what you thought about it, because obviously there was some big outcomes from that game, but what do you think is the future for both teams?
So, obviously, you guys heard my reaction when Chris picked the Seahawks last week, and I was shocked.
Listen.
I look after the score, I think rightfully so. But I do want to point out, everybody's thinking about the future of the 49ers. Nobody's really talking about the future of Seattle. So with a coach like Pete Carroll, I mean, it's one of those coaches you can't just rule out immediately, right?
Yeah.
And Geno Smith, looking at his stat line, he didn't play like
terrible,
super well, but he didn't play, horrible either.
Yeah.
He 24 for 30, 197 yards and a pick. He didn't really finish. That's the problem that I saw from them. There was never really a time where I looked at it and I was like, oh, Seattle might win. But just the turnover game was a little ridiculous. San Francisco had the ball the majority of the game. They had, ton more yards than them. But obviously everybody saw when Trey Lance went down. And, as a football fan and obviously the players never want to see somebody get hurt. You never want to see somebody go down and be out with a season-ending injury. I mean, everybody saw the video. You could see his leg was twisted in the wrong direction. The guy's out for the season. He's out for the season. And so at this point, the 49ers have to be looking at what is their future for this year without Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And then based off of that thought, what is their future after this season with Trey Lance?
I want to read you a couple stats, and then also I got a question for you about Seattle. So you were talking about that the 49ers just dominated in every stat. So the 49ers in first downs, it's 25-14. Total plays, the 49ers had 70. The total yards, 373 to 216. And then obviously the time of possession, 38-21.
Right.
And so
it was a blow. I mean, it was
a blow in every way, shape, or form. But here's my question for you, okay? I think we actually talked about this yesterday with Cooper Rush, taking over and beating the Bengals. I don't think that a quarterback like Geno Smith, even though I had high praise for him last week, but just watching him play, is he going to be able to sustain them for the whole season? You know what I'm saying?
No. He's not. He's not a starting quarterback.
No, and I think something that with these quarterbacks like Geno Smith and Cooper Rush, who were once, who are backups or were once backups, or even, listen, I love Andy Dalton to death, but I think he's one of those. Can those quarterbacks extend plays? Because that's what honestly makes a quarterback great, is can they extend plays? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think really the only time you ever see a backup quarterback go into a situation like that and do well is when they have a scheme that's designed for them and they're just filling a void.
Yeah.
So,
but that can only last for so long.
Right, and that's what happened with the Patriots when they put Brian Hoyer in when Tom Brady got hurt. I mean, they still went 11-5 or 10-6. They went to playoffs. So with Geno Smith, though, you're not going to – I mean, I'm sorry, but he's not going to be able to do that.
Not at all. And again,
there's no way.
I thought Geno Smith played really good week one, but like you said, the reason why he did was because there was a game plan and a scheme put in place specifically for him, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that's going to happen every week.
No, and I want to talk a little bit about the future of the 49ers as well, because I think they have – this is I would be really stressed if I was John Lynch right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have a guy who everybody thinks is the future. You and I have never seen anything good out of this guy. We've never understood the hype around Trey Lance.
Never.
You don't wish an injury on him at all.
No.
But obviously, I never saw anything in him. We talked about that even when I was making fun of you for picking the Seahawks, that I didn't think he was good. But Jimmy G is a guy, I mean, he's been in the Super Bowl. How many quarterbacks in the league right now have been and played in a Super Bowl?
There are franchise quarterbacks who have been with the team for 10 years that have never been to a Super Bowl.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So Jimmy G has led his team to a Super Bowl. He's led his team to NFC Championship games. I mean, every year we always go, why is the 49ers ranked so high? And every year they make it deep into the playoffs. So for me, I think Jimmy G gives the 49ers a much better chance at actually being relative this year. Their run game was there. They had almost
Yeah.
100. They had over 100 rushing yards as a team. So for me, I think if Jimmy G does well this year, like what's the next move? Like
I don't.
Trey Lance at this point, we don't think Trey Lance is going to bring them to a Super Bowl. Going to bring them into contention. I don't think anything changes. And honestly, the odds for them to win the Super Bowl went up when Trey Lance got ruled out for the rest of the season and Jimmy G would be the starter.
If you look at Jimmy G's win-loss of his career, 45-18. That's crazy.
Like how do you
For a guy
I
who
still
was
don't understand.
Yeah, for a guy who was a Tom Brady backup, was the starting quarterback for the 49ers, went to a Super Bowl like you said. Why was there even a doubt in somebody's mind that says, you know what, I'm going to remove Jimmy G from that equation when he had a win-loss record like this, and then he can go in on Sunday and win a game. Again, it was Seattle, but it was a divisional game. Those are always big games, no matter how good or bad the opponent is.
Right. So, I don't know. I think when you look at the 49ers, we're going to see a lot of interesting new. They're definitely the team that I feel like the league in general is watching them.
Yeah.
And then the Lions are being watched just for their performance and how many people root for the underdog. It's the same type of thing as the Browns were a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But them and the Lions, I feel like, are the ones that everybody as a football fan are going to be paying attention to.
I could see that.
But I got to go into the next topic with you, and I wanted to talk to you about the Falcons a little bit. So the Falcons, they lost, obviously. But do you think that the Falcons are a good team with bad luck or a bad team with,
Good
just
luck.
decent performances the past couple weeks?
Let me start with looking at some stats, and then I want to look into the team stats as well. So this is the box score. Again, they did play the Rams. We did pick the Rams to win. The Rams are definitely struggling, but Marcus Mariota, 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. Cordell Patterson only had 41 yards this week, so he was not that big of a factor in the run game or the receiving game. I don't even think, he was targeted once with 0 catches. They do have that guy Drake London, who I think is going to be pretty good. There was a reason he was drafted as high as he was. But the team stats, you're playing a team like the Rams who have great people on defense, who have great players on offense, and the time of possession, the Rams 30 minutes and 24 seconds, the Falcons 29 minutes and 36 seconds. Total yardage was in the favor of the Rams by about 70 yards. And the first downs was in favor of the Rams as well. But they held their own against a Super Bowl champion. So
what do you think the Falcons are like? Do you think they just, because the Saints obviously came back and beat them last week.
Yeah.
Then they had a rough game against the Bucks. And then now the Rams got smoked by the Bills, and then the Falcons almost come back and beat them at the end of the game in their home stadium. So are they just playing crappy teams, or are they just getting unlucky and are actually a pretty decent team?
That's hard to answer, and I think we kind of answered that. I remember last year when we were talking about the Lions and how were the Lions just getting unlucky because the Lions lost a lot of really close games. And clearly,
the Chargers were like that too. That's why we always
definitely.
ask that question, because the Chargers, we think it's a great team.
Clearly, I think the Chargers are way ahead of the Falcons and even the Lions. And I think the Lions this year are actually ahead of the Falcons. I think the Falcons, what they have to do is they have to get themselves not only a strong defense, but I love Marcus Mariota. I like him, even though he's moved around a lot. They have to get them a true quarterback. They rode Matt Ryan's coattails for years, went to the Super Bowl in his MVP year, and then just rode his coattail. You know what I'm saying? And didn't go seek out a young quarterback. And I think that was that's their problem. And I think that's put them out of even being in contention for y'all's league or y'all's division. 3 to 4 years to come. I don't think they're going to be anything in the next 3 to 4 years. So I think they're a decent team with bad luck. Not a good team, but a decent team with bad luck.
Okay. So you think that they do have a history of just having the worst? Like...
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, there are teams like that. There are teams like that in sports franchises or in sports in general. There are franchises that are that way. There are franchises that are just bad. And I would argue that the Browns franchise is one of those. Yes, they've been relevant the past couple of years, but they're a bad franchise overall. I would say the Falcons, it's not a bad franchise. It's just, I guess the word is an unlucky franchise. I think they're slowly getting pieces. Kyle Pitts, London, Patterson, but they're not getting all of them. They're not meeting the needs.
I think they're
that they
in
need
an
first.
elite division, and they're not
They
even
are.
close to the level of competition. It's like the Bills for a few years when they were with the Patriots. Like they just couldn't get it. You know what I mean? They just couldn't get it done.
Again, I think they have to do something in the next 2 years in the draft, and I think they can get themselves back to being one of those wild card spots in the NFL. But right now, it has been clear for the past 3 years, and I think for the next 3 years, that they're just rebuilding, and it's slower than than probably most Falcons fans would want. But
well, I think the Falcons, since the 28-3 disaster, have wanted something.
Oh yeah.
I think it's been slow since then.
The last thing I'm going to say about this one, and then I'm going to go into asking you your question, is it just seems like the Falcons are the punching bag for the league. Last year, Dallas, they won 5 games in a row. They lost to the Broncos, humiliating. They came out the next week and smoked the Falcons. So that's just an example. That's last week we talked about them blowing another lead. I think that's just where they are. And I think they have to get out of that, hump and start looking to what can we really be. Not we're just satisfied with winning 5, maybe 6 games a year, but can we get to that elite level that we were back when they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl? So my question to you, and this fits perfect with this one, is it Matt Ryan's fault?
Matt Ryan's fault as far as the Colts' performance?
Listen, I'm going to say in general, because we just got done talking about the Falcons, and their past couple of years have been not the best. And then we're looking at the Colts' first 2 games, and they're clearly not the best as well. So is it Matt Ryan's fault in general?
So if we're talking about the Colts, I think it's almost entirely Matt Ryan's fault because he's the only piece that's changed.
Yeah. I mean,
everything else is, dude, you have the best running back in the league, and they gave him the ball 9 times against Jacksonville.
For 54 yards.
They were behind.
Yeah.
They were behind. So,
but they got behind because Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions.
3 interceptions. He got sacked 5 times, so the line needs to do better. But at the end of the day, Matt Ryan is a Super Bowl quarterback. He went to a Super Bowl. He was a former league MVP. And I have been saying, watching him the past few years, that he sucks.
Yeah.
And he does. He's not good, dude. I picked him as a boom because I thought he was going to have a revenge game against the Jaguars. Like probably 95% of America thought he was going to do good against the Jaguars.
And he had a QBR of 6.2.
QBR 6.2. The rating was 34. I don't know what else Matt Ryan needs. It's not. He was without what's his name? Michael Pittman.
Yeah. Which obviously, I think you said something very good at the beginning of this little topic. It's the reason Jonathan Taylor couldn't do what he was supposed to do was because Matt Ryan put them in that hole by turning the ball over 3 times.
He didn't do his job. Yeah. So you see what he did with the Falcons, right? Like the Falcons haven't been relevant really since the Super Bowl. Like after that, they kind of just fell off. Brady ended up going to Tampa, so Tampa became a lot more relevant. The Panthers were good for a little bit with Christian McCaffrey, and then you had the Saints who had Drew Brees up until recently and Sean Payton up until last year. So they haven't been relevant for a while in their own division. So Matt Ryan leaves or gets traded, goes to the Colts, which you can't tell me that a franchise quarterback didn't have any say in where he went.
Yeah.
He probably had a pretty decent influence in where he went. Carson Wentz leaves, goes to the Redskins, or the Commanders, has an absolute amazing first 2 weeks. Now, the second week wasn't as good, but statistically,
I mean, I think he still got 27 in fantasy.
Dude, he
so.
had 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 337 yards.
Yeah.
Jared Goff just outplayed him. They lost the game. They got outcoached.
Yeah.
But dude, he's had 7 touchdowns and 3 picks in the first 2 games, almost 700 yards. And here's Matt Ryan with like 5 or 6 turnovers in the first 2 games. So he's the only piece that's changed.
Yeah.
What else has changed? Their line, I think, is injured a little bit. So I think
they are.
Quentin Nelson is out.
But does that?
And he's one of their best linemen.
That still
But
doesn't.
that's it.
Yeah, that still doesn't give them an excuse. Agreeing with your point, for them to get 0 points. When you look at it, he got outplayed, and I know you're still, speculating about Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence stats, 25 of 30, 235 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he got outplayed.
Well, the problem is the Colts defense is nowhere to be found either. I don't know what's going on.
I know Darius Leonard was out. I do know that. I do know Darius Leonard was out. He's their big piece. He's always been a very good.
Dude, it's next man up. Like you can't have a team that was one of the best teams in the league last year. Statistically, where they finished in the rankings, every aspect of the way they performed was top tier until they got beat at the end of the year.
Yep.
Like they played great throughout the whole year. And now they're awful. I mean, they are literally the laughingstock of the league. They've let up 44 points to Houston and Jacksonville and lost or tied both games.
And I think their tie is actually worse than, I would say, losing. Than starting the season 0-2.
Finish.
Why? Yeah, I would say their loss or their tie is worse than starting the season 0-2 because you're tied to Houston. Again, Houston has not been a very good team for a while, but you tied to the Houston Texans and Davis Mills. Right. So
at this point, if I was the coach, I would be very, very concerned.
Well, I wouldn't even be concerned if I was the coach. If I was the owner of the team, if I was the GM of the team, that's where I would be concerned because
100%. But I don't even know if the coach is going to make it to mid-season.
Yeah. My question to end this little topic is, where do you think the Colts have to go from here?
Matt Ryan. I mean, that's literally it. Like, they have, at this point, if Matt Ryan does this again next week and just absolutely sucks, like, at what point do you put in Sam Ehlinger and try and develop your next quarterback?
At what point? I think, maybe week 3. I think the first 5 weeks are probably too early, but with the way the AFC is, what is too early? Because
the Titans put in Malik Willis last week. They're already starting. They're not playing.
Well, with the AFC being, probably the favorite to win the Super Bowl, is that there's no room for error at all. And
you don't have time to see if things are going to work out either. That's the problem.
Yeah,
especially that's the issue.
You could wait till week 5 to be like, well, we'll see where we are then. And then the rest of the AFC is 5 games ahead of you. I think in the NFC, you can kind of develop or wait and see how things are going to develop because of just it's not as strong of a division this year. Go ahead.
I think the other thing too is we got to think a little bit about the Colts division right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only other thing that they have going for them.
Is their division
is that they're in a division with the Jags, Texans, and Titans.
Yeah.
So they have a chance, and Matt Ryan seems to do this a lot. I've noticed in his career he takes subpar teams to the playoffs in crappy divisions. I mean, that's what he was with the Falcons for so long. Like, there was times where that division was horrible. Like, worst division in the league.
Yeah.
So right now he's in the same boat. He goes to a team that's in the worst division in the league, I mean, I thought the NFC East
NFC
was going to be
East.
the worst division
No
in the league,
sir,
but
6-2.
they're one of the best now.
6-2.
And you look at the AFC South, and it's like, how do you have such a
Yeah.
horrible division in such a good part of the league? But then you look at the Colts, and it's like, oh, you guys are 0-1. Literally, the only team in that division that has a win is the Jaguars. The
It's
division
Jacksonville.
is literally 1-5-2
And Jacksonville has been playing
as a
pretty good.
division. So yeah, Jacksonville's playing pretty good. I just think the Colts, if the Titans can figure it out and Jacksonville can maintain, the Colts might seriously finish in the bottom of their division or third.
Yep.
Like they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
All right. Well, now that we got the Colts out of the way and the fact that Matt Ryan needs to get it together, let's talk about another quarterback that I think is, not maybe where we thought he would be with his team right now. And is Russell Wilson really worth
Man.
the $265 million that the Broncos paid him?
So-
and if so, like, why?
Man, I think the question why is a lot harder to answer than is he actually worth it? Because, you get is he actually worth it? You could say yes or no, and you could say, yes, he is worth it because of what he did in Seattle. No, he's not worth it because of his first 2 games. But if you answer, if you break that down, it's week 2. We know how this goes. There are teams last year. The Panthers started 3-0, and they are now 3-16, something like that. In their last games since then, and so you can't judge things off the first 2 weeks of the season, but when do you start judging those things? Because why do people think that he's worth the $265 million? Why do they not think he's worth the $265 million? That is a very hard question to answer.
I think kind of the answer that I was looking for a little bit is I don't think he is, dude. Russell Wilson is arguably a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to just automatically throw him in because there's so many.
Of course
greats
not. He's
that
been
are
in 2
the Hall
Super
of Fame.
Bowls. He lost one because of bad coaching decision, and he won another one. You know what I'm saying? Or dominated
right, Chris,
one
dude,
of them.
his stats against the Texans: 14 to 31, 219 yards, a touchdown, and a pick.
You know what?
And they won 16-9, dude. That is not a $265 million elite quarterback.
No,
like,
not
that's
at all.
not who it is.
And here's what I think can happen with someone like Russell Wilson. He goes to Seattle. He wins a Super Bowl against the Broncos, dominates a Super Bowl against the Broncos, loses, a Super Bowl. But since then, it's kind of just been a slow, let's just have a winning season. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
sometimes you look at Matt Stafford. I mean, Matt Stafford went to the Rams last year and they won a Super Bowl. So I think people were expecting, the expectations were too high, because if you think about it, Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Matt Stafford. Would you say yes? If you just were thinking of those 2 names, would you say Russell Wilson is better than Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
And I think the expectations were, well, Matt Stafford can go from the worst, franchise in football, and he can go to LA and he can win a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson should go 17-0. And I think the expectations were too high. And clearly it is in his head. I think Russell Wilson can be worth $265 million. Because that's a lot of money, dude. Do you realize how much money $265 million is?
That's what I'm saying. You got
what was his
guys
stat line
Jalen
again?
Hurts and, dude, 14 for
Yeah.
31. The guy threw less than 50% completion.
Yeah, and I think
Like,
he can be worth it. He has got to get out of his own head, and he's got to play football. That's what
I don't think he's the same Russ anymore.
He's
That's
not.
I don't think he's
But-
the same quarterback that everybody was like, oh, this is a great quarterback. I don't think he's the same quarterback
Think about
anymore.
going back to week 1. We were excited for the Broncos game because, it's Russ returning to Seattle, okay? Well, Russ got outplayed by Pete Carroll on the coaching, coaching for Seattle.
Right.
And two, Russell Wilson, I think he took kind of like a gut shot because at the end of the game, with the game on the line, they went to the kicker instead of their $200 million quarterback. And I think Russell Wilson, he didn't just turn his head and, say, whatever, it's the coach's decision. In his mind, he's going, why did you pay me this money to not go out there and
Let me
prove,
sit on the sideline.
and go out there and prove myself. So, again,
Well, then I think he went and made a statement in the wrong direction by his
oh
performance
yeah,
against the Texans.
definitely. And again, I think the expectations were set too high for Matt Stafford with how he went and won a Super Bowl. I mean, he went through the Bucks in the playoffs. I really think, he went through the 49ers in the playoffs. I think the expectations were set too high, and Russ has to stop listening to that. He has to go out and play, let Russ cook, as they say. Let him cook. He's got a good running back in Javonte Williams, a decent second running back in Melvin Gordon. He's got Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. I think just he
no excuse.
He has no excuse
really
anymore.
What we're establishing.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't. He's got to get out there and show why he's worth that much money, because I can go out there and play like he did and they can give me that money. Okay? So, you and me,
There we go.
you and me could play quarterback and running back, and I think we would do better than how the Broncos are doing right now. Obviously, we're joking,
it's
but
not a team. Not a team that I would want to be a fan of
Absolutely
right now.
not.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the expectations versus reality.
yeah,
Like, dude, the expectations as a Broncos fan would be that Russell Wilson's going to come in here and be that final piece
Yeah.
to get you over the bump.
Well-
and he's not. I mean, you guys are doing just as bad.
and two, also, I think their expectations were, this is the guy that's going to take down Patrick Mahomes. And Russell Wilson is not
And
taking
it's
down the
not.
Chargers right now. You know what I'm saying? Russell Wilson
Wilson is barely taking down the Texans and
Yeah.
the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I mean, are we serious?
Yeah. So I think that's what the expectations were. They got to get over that. He's just got to play football. Let Russ cook. That's what's got to happen.
Yeah,
So
Russ not cooking nothing right now, so he
ain't
needs to
cooking
turn the
nothing.
stove on first.
So here's my last topic before we end the episode. I think this is a good one. Who are the current top 3 defenses in the league?
So, when we had decided this topic, I thought it was really interesting because we had a conversation about a couple of these teams, and obviously number one is going to be the Bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
We look at what they do as a defense. We look at who they played, how they
Yep.
performed. They picked Matt Stafford off 3 times, sacking people like crazy. I mean, Von Miller's been a huge addition to that.
Oh, yeah.
That team, and that's really like a final piece for them. I feel like that, like if the Bills make it and go all the way, I think the 2 things that we're going to look at is the addition of Von Miller, I guess 3 things really: the addition of Von Miller, the sustainability and the consistency from the defense, and then Josh Allen's leap from good to elite, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can clearly establish that the Bills are number 1 defense, and I don't know if there's any team that's ready to kind of dethrone them from that yet.
Yeah.
It all depends again how they play against Miami
Can I
this
say
week.
something
That's
real quick?
really going to be. Yep, go ahead.
And I think what just shows that the Bills defense is that good. We all know what Derrick Henry does to defenses. He wears them down. He's a
He
big
crushed
dude.
them last year too.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He gets better as the game goes on. That is not what happened last night. The Bills played a full 60 minutes of complete football. And that is so important, especially when we're seeing all of these comeback and upsets, from week 1 and week 2. It's important, and I think that's what I totally agree with you. That's what makes them number 1.
Well, and I think the other thing too is when you see the backups come in to go against Malik Willis and then force another turnover, it's
Yeah.
like, oh great, they really have that next man up mindset.
And that's
I think
important
my next
too.
one. Yeah, definitely. My next one is gonna have to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's a couple other defenses that people could argue are good, but I don't think This was one of our questions when we had talked about the power rankings. Was like, are they really, really about that or really good this year? And I think we saw their performance from the Saints solidify what we were thinking when they played the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So when they played the Cowboys, they stuffed Dak, they turned it over, they stuffed Zeke, they stuffed Tony Pollard. They had a decent game against the Cowboys. But everybody was saying, Dak didn't look good, he got hurt. It was a rough game for the Cowboys. Nobody really acknowledged the fact that it could have been a good game for the Bucs defense. And then we look at the next game, and they play the Saints in the Superdome, okay? So we had talked about that last week, how big of a deal this really is for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go to the Superdome. And they absolutely demolished the Saints from a defensive standpoint. But what I want to say, too, is that offense didn't get going nearly as quick as they should have.
No.
I mean, it was a slow game. So for them to maintain the game being close with all the opportunities that Jameis Winston and the Saints had is something to really be excited about. I think they had 3 interceptions, a pick 6, 5 or 6 sacks, fumble recovery, I believe, as well last game. I mean, they had a phenomenal Week 2 game.
Yeah.
But Week 1 was just as good. Like, I believe we have the lowest points allowed in the NFL right now at 13. We've only allowed 1 touchdown this year.
Yeah. Well, and I got something
so
to say too.
overall, I think they're a little underrated, to be honest.
Is what made y'all's defense bad last year, because your front 7 were good. It was your back half.
I think they were old.
Well, no, I'm saying your safeties and corners were your problem last year. You were getting burned left and right by these receivers, and y'all have not had that happen. Y'all have stopped these. I mean, you played CeeDee Lamb.
I think Todd Bowles has done an incredible job these first 2 weeks.
Yep, I can agree.
With his defensive mind.
Because
incredible
again,
job.
You played CeeDee Lamb. Y'all's corner stopped him. You played Michael Thomas and that Olave kid, and y'all stopped him. So y'all's corners, I think, is what put y'all over the edge as that number 2 defense, and I can agree with you. They are the number 2 defense.
And then my last one, Chris, I think you're gonna appreciate this. This might be a little bit of a hot take, all right? So people may disagree with me on this, but I'm gonna have to take the Cowboys, dude.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
I think you could go with the 49ers. You could go with a team like the Chargers. There's a couple teams out there that you could say are the number 3 defense.
Yeah.
But I can't pick the 49ers after the way they lost to the Bears. And I can't pick the Chargers after, the game with the Chiefs and just not finishing and that kind of stuff. So the Cowboys, I think you have somebody that is probably, this may be the best season of his career. And I think Micah Parsons is literally in orbit right now as far as how far away he is, like in the rocket flying from the world about how good he is at football right now.
Yeah.
And that I don't think you're going to see this consistently from him, like year over year over year, because it's just not sustainable to be this elite. But dude, he was a defensive rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only thing about the defense that looked good week 1, and now he was the centerpiece of a defense that looked totally good week 2 against. I mean, dude, they led up against the Bengals 254 yards.
254 yards and only 1 touchdown. And
254 yards, 1 touchdown against the Super Bowl contending Bengals of last year.
With Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. I mean, I definitely agree with you, not just because I'm a Cowboys fan, but last week against the Bengals, and I was talking to my dad about this, where, he was a little frustrated with, how can we even let Burrow, drive down the field and take 9 minutes off the clock? But when you go back to it, they were doing their job. The only reason they were back out on that field was because our offense with Cooper Rush, I appreciate what Cooper Rush did. He put us in the position we needed to win. But again, he's not one of those extend the play type of guys. I think the
Right.
defense, for having to do what they did, played great. I don't think we had a turnover, but we had 6 sacks. Okay. And Joe Burrow, if you watched the game, Joe Burrow was running for his life the whole game.
Running for his
The
life the
whole
whole
game.
game, dude.
And with people like, I mean, Micah Parsons had 2 sacks. He has 4 sacks on the season. With DeMarcus Lawrence playing good, with Basham putting pressure on. I mean, there were just players that stepped up. They didn't just let Micah Parsons do what he does best. They also played very good. And then, Van Der Esch actually played really well as well. I think he had one of the sacks. He had a couple really good tackles. And our safeties and corners did not, even without Jaron
Well,
Kearse.
you're seeing them finally be able to stop the run.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing where the Cowboys never really had an issue, so to say, with like letting a quarterback have a ton of time in the pocket.
Yeah,
like
no.
Even years ago, they never let somebody have a ton of time in the pocket. But
Yeah.
you could always dish out a screen or run through the line and be good to go. And I mean, Joe Mixon had 19 carries for 57 yards. And he did nothing. I mean,
Nothing.
Zeke didn't really do a whole lot either,
No.
but he did nothing against your D line that you thought would do worse because of the injuries and
Yeah.
because of people not getting re-signed. But the team is doing great from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I think, and the saying is defense wins championships. I think if, our defense can keep us in the game, we play Washington and the Giants next. I think by the time Dak gets back, and, I have my things that I'm not happy with about Dak, but he's an extend the play type of guy. We've seen that before. I
Well, if he
think,
has a defense to support him, as long as he doesn't make mistakes.
yeah,
he's a
absolutely. As long as
further than
he
what we
isn't doing
thought based
what,
off week one.
yeah, as long as he isn't doing what quarterbacks like Matt Ryan did. You know what I'm saying? His defense will do what they need to do if he's putting them in the right position. So I
Right.
totally agree with you with your two or with your top three. I mean, again, number 3, you could probably fit the 49ers or the Chargers in, but, I think we'll see even more as the season goes on. So, again, guys, I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. I know it was a little different from us just sitting down game by game. We'll do that in our next episode when we kind of give our game picks to add to our record. But this is just us talking about, some of the hot takes, some of the major things that are going on in football. If you have any, questions that you want answered, any ideas, anything for this type of episode, you can message us on Instagram. You can message us on Facebook. You can, leave a comment on our YouTube page. But we want you guys to interact with us. And, we don't just want to be the ones picking the topics every single week. So, again, if you have something that you would be interested in us talking about, again, let us know. DM us, comment on the post. But, again, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure you do check us out on all of our social media platforms. And then also remember, you can listen on all major streaming platforms for free. Thanks again, and we look forward to the next episode.